Hello, it's Nathan. Today I'll be showing you how to install VirtualBox so you guys can virtualize some machines, set up some labs, set up some services, and play around with some vulns. First thing we gotta do is install VirtualBox, and you can go to the website here, virtualbox.org, and click the download button. Um, and there should be a couple download links here. If you're on Windows, it's pretty simple. Just choose the Windows host button. But if you're on macOS, you'd either want to pick between Intel or Apple Silicon, depending on which computer you're on. Linux distributions. Most Linux distributions have um, VirtualBox in their package list, so I'd highly recommend checking those first to try and install it from there. But VirtualBox does also have a install link on their website, but I'd highly recommend checking the package manager first. And but since I'm on Windows, I'm going to go with Windows Host. So let me download it. And I actually already have it downloaded, so I do not have to download it again. And if we just run it, I believe if you run it with a bare install of Windows, or you will get this error complaining that it needs a dependency called Microsoft Visual C++ 2019 redistributable. To fix that, you would have to go to, well, you would look up Microsoft Visual C++, and it should be Microsoft's webpage up here, and you would go down to the latest supported redistributable version down there, and install x64 most likely. You would only pick x86 if you're on a really old system, and even then, I don't believe VirtualBox would work on x86 at this point. I could be wrong, but you would most likely want to pick x64. ARM64 is on if you're on a special PC where you have a different, well, CPU architecture. But most likely you would want to pick x64. Download that, and since I already have it, I'm gonna just run the one I already have. Agree and install. And remember, you don't have to install this if you didn't get the error for VirtualBox. But if you did, um, well, it should be fixed now since you've installed it. Now that if you run VirtualBox again, you can go to next. I accept. And these options should be fine. So you can just keep clicking next. It's going to disconnect you from the internet. And yeah, you can just click yes on this. It should be fine. Install. And then as it's installing, after it's done installing, you can click finish and have it start up. And then I think we're ready to create a virtual machine. So when you click new here, well, before you create a virtual machine, you would want to have an install image from like a Linux distribution that you want to install to virtualize, or from Windows, from BSD, Solaris, anything. In this example, we're going to use Ubuntu Server, and you would want to look up Ubuntu Server ISO. That's kind of the image format that most installers come in. Um, and for Ubuntu Server, you just go to this download link, download it, and then click download, and then you should get an ISO that lets you install Ubuntu Server. You could do the same for something like if you're on Fedora, if you want to install Windows, BSD, again, you just look up Windows ISO, Fedora ISO, anything, and then you just download it from there. But once you do get an ISO, you can click the new button up here in the VirtualBox Manager, give it a name, and select the ISO that you just downloaded. In this case, I already have it downloaded before I recorded this. Right there. Click Other, Download, and then there we go. Most ISOs should automatically detect what OS distribution and version you're running, but in the case it doesn't, you're able to select it here, and it's just a way for VirtualBox to, I guess, optimize the virtual machine specifically tailored to the operating system. But if it doesn't detect it, you can click generic, and it should boot fine. But it's good to to set the variables you know, so it's more optimized for your system. I would recommend skipping unintended installation, just so we can go with the more traditional route of installing the OS, getting used to like how you actually install operating systems, and also just because some distributions, some OSs also just kind of have poor support with this. Um, it may not always be available, so it's just good to know how you install uh, or operating systems manually. Uh, Ubuntu has pretty good support, but in this case, we'll just go with the traditional method of installing it manually. With something like Ubuntu, we could specify, uh, we could give it less hardware. So in this screen, we're going to give it like how much resources we want to give it, how much resources we want to give the virtual machine. For Ubuntu, since it's lightweight, since it's a Linux distribution without for server, it doesn't have a GUI. We can go with either 1 or 2 gigabytes. It should work fine with 1 gig, one CPU, and like 15 gigs of memory. If you're installing like something heavy like services, web server, FTP servers, or just running anything, a lot of resources, or anything that is not kind of like the base install, I would try to give it more RAM if you can. If you're running something like a GUI, so like Ubuntu Desktop, I would also try to giving it more RAM, a bit more CPU, and a bit more space so we can store it. For something like Windows, I would definitely recommend giving it at least 4 gigs with 2 CPUs. Otherwise, it will run kind of slow because Windows requires kind of a lot of resources to run. But since we're just running a Ubuntu server, we can go ahead and just set that pretty low because it doesn't really need it that much. And click next, and then you can finish, and then you should be able to start it. And then um, once it gets to this screen, um, it should boot up your ISO, and you're able to go ahead with the install process. Um, VirtualBox also lets you change a lot of the settings here. So if you go click this gear icon, you can change the memory after creating it. You will have to shut down the VM though. Uh, Processor, number of processors, and a bunch of other stuff. That's kind of out of the scope for this tutorial. But after you get to this screen, or after you boot up your ISO, just go ahead with the install process, and you should be good. Um, and that's about it. Thank you.